If you're watching this, then you are a very tasteful person.
Because you have found a brand new nerd culture video. Yay!
My name is Magnar, the Flesh Stomper.
And today I am going to be analyzing which Disney villain does it better.
Which Disney villain killed the most people?
Well, there's more that goes into it than just that. Motives matter, style matters.
Which Disney villain decapitates more children?
None of them do that.
On screen.
Nerd.
So this started out as a video of me ranking all the Disney villains, but let me tell you, it is impossible. It's impossible. It's just not possible. You can't compare someone like Ursula, who is a sea witch who makes shady deals with merfolk that ends up turning them into withering coral, to Gaston, who is just a dickhead. Both are villains, but they're different kinds of villains. Some villains want to steal the throne, others want world domination, and some just want a new fur coat. But even though I'm trying to base this all on factual evidence, it is still just my opinion. And no, I didn't include every Disney villain, so sorry for you King Candy fans out there. Maybe next time. Spoilers, 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 spoilers. I don't know how many times I have to say it. Spoilers. Go watch all the Disney movies right now, and then you can come back and thank me for changing your life, and then enjoy the rest of this video. In this video, I'm going to be stereotyping the villains into the different archetypes. We know Disney loves to reuse evil stepmothers as villains, but there are also plenty of power-hungry and vengeful villains as well. So it'll be much more fair to group the villains by similar motives, and then it's just a comparison to see which length each villain was willing to go to achieve their goal. This isn't which Disney villain is most evil or has the funniest jokes. This is which Disney villain did it better. First category is animal abusers. The villains in this category all have the intention to hurt animals. We have Cruella de Vil from 101 Dalmatians, Edgar from the Aristocats, and Clayton from Tarzan. Edgar wants to get rid of Duchess and her kittens in order to have Madame's fortune all to himself. So Edgar is a butler to the millionaire Madame, and he finds out that she's going to leave her entire fortune to her cats instead of him. He becomes greedy and drugs the cats and kidnaps them and leaves them in the countryside. Also, later trying to send them to Timbuktu. So that's what Edgar does. Now Cruella, what she wants is to kill the Dalmatian puppies to use as a fur coat. Cruella is a rich, fashion-obsessed animal killer. She steals the 15 puppies from Anita, who is her old friend from school, but then actually buys the other 84 puppies. So I mean, she's only 15% a robber. Cruella just acts on impulse. She doesn't have this long hatred for Anita. She doesn't desire more power. She just sees the puppies and has to have them. She also suggests to her henchmen to use chloroform to poison the puppies and then drown them. And I mean, once she decided that she wanted those fur coats, she did everything to try and get them, including driving off multiple cliffs. Then we have Clayton. So Clayton wants to sell the gorillas in order to become rich. Clayton has a secret agenda to use the trip with Jane and her father as a means to hunt the gorillas and then sell them on the black market. He reveals his true nature as the film goes on, and we see that he is really sinister. There's a point when Tarzan has a giant gun pointed at Clayton, and this guy literally mocks Tarzan to pull the trigger. This is a fearless villain. I mean, when you talk about how far villains are willing to go for what they want, Clayton kills himself trying. Now, who did it better? See, Cruella and Clayton both have actually killed animals. They've been in the poacher business for a while, it seems. But Edgar never even tries to murder the cats. He just drugs them, abandons them, tries to ship them away. So he's out. Now, Cruella and Clayton are both super evil and cruel. Cruella is super dedicated, drives off 2 cliffs trying to catch these puppies, and sacrifices her car. I mean, that thing is wrecked at the end of that chase. But ultimately, in the movie, it wasn't her doing the dirty work. She orders the killing, doesn't do it herself. Now, Clayton does do the killing himself. And he is even more dedicated because he literally gives his life trying. So I can safely say that of the Disney villain animal abusers, Clayton does it best. Now, our next category is shady dealers. Villains in this category all engage in twisted contracts with good people with the intent to benefit themselves more than the other person. We have Ursula from The Little Mermaid and Dr. Facilier from The Princess and the Frog. Dr. Facilier's goal is to become the wealthiest and most powerful man in New Orleans. Dr. Facilier is a witch doctor who at some point formed an alliance with these shadow demons that states that he can use black magic as long as he repays them with souls. He is working with those friends on the other side in a plot to take over New Orleans. Dr. Facilier comes from a poor upbringing, which, makes sense as to why he would hate the rich. He is a quick-thinking villain, but has a prominent fear of not being able to pay his friends back. Ursula's goal is to overthrow King Triton and rule the seas. Ursula is a sea witch who is banished from Atlantica by King Triton. So she vowed to get vengeance by stealing the king's trident and taking its power. She strikes deals with merfolk that supposedly help them make their dreams come true, but really just benefit her. Her home is full of cursed merfolk and other remains as a result of these contracts. Also, even when Ariel is seemingly winning the contract, Ursula butts in as this pretty woman and tries to get Eric to marry her instead. Now, who did it better? Ursula's contracts, the Shadow Man has handshakes. Both have twisted intentions when it comes to these deals. The Shadow Man is actually in his own shady deal with the demons. So really, the demons are the evil ones who are giving their dark magic to Dr. Facilier, and he is terrified of them. Whereas Ursula is fearless and her powers are entirely her own. So I'm going to say that of the Disney villain shady dealers, Ursula does a better job. Next we have genocide committers. The villains in this category kill countless people for really no other reason than they just want to. We have Claude Frollo from The Hunchback of Notre Dame and Shan Yu from Mulan. So Shan Yu's goal is to conquer China. Shan Yu is the leader of the Han army, which makes him responsible for mass genocide across China. He kills his enemies in cold blood just to prove his strength. I know you guys know that scene of where there are two Imperial soldiers running away, and he's like, how many does it take to send a message? And then he thinks it's one, and has one of them killed. I definitely think that's one of the cruelest acts I've seen in a Disney movie, is that scene. He says he wants to return that doll to the little girl, but we all know what really happened. He kills even the defenseless. Now, Claude Frollo's goal is to rid Paris of gypsies and then later claim Esmeralda. Frollo is a justice minister who's also the caretaker of Quasimodo. He is disgusted by gypsies and devotes his life to eradicating them. But he sees this as a loyal service to God, even though he often uses inhumane violence. He is lustful, commits genocide, and is considered to be one of the most dark and complex villains. He does just about every evil crime in order to prosecute what he considers are the sinners. I mean, he tortures, he kills, and he believes that everything he is doing is good. Now, who did it better? Both of these villains are definitely two of the darkest villains in Disney movies. They both have very graphic, dark, inhumane ways of killing, and neither of them show any mercy to the innocent. Shan Yu wants to kill everyone in China. Claude Frollo wants to kill all the gypsies in Paris. So already Shan Yu has the higher body count. Shan Yu also never takes slaves, he just kills. When he attacks an entire village, there are no survivors. But he doesn't hate the victims. Killing them is just a stepping stone to get to his goal. For Frollo, killing them is the goal. Shan Yu felt challenged when the emperor put up the Great Wall of China and wanted to prove his strength by going and committing genocide across the villages. So that was impersonal, but Frollo literally gets pleasure from hurting others and is fueled by the hatreds of his victims. That's personal. I don't know. Both did a horrific job at genocide. And it feels so weird to be comparing them, but ultimately it disgusts me more that Frollo thinks he is being good when he kills. So of the villains who commit mass genocide, Frollo is the more villainous one. The next villains we're going to be talking about are the stepmothers. Yes, this is its own category. The villains in this category keep and bully a princess so that instead of living her best life, she is trapped forever beneath her rank. We have Lady Tremaine from Cinderella, the Evil Queen from Snow White, and Mother Gothel from Tangled. Lady Tremaine wants to improve her own family's status while degrading Cinderella in the process. Lady Tremaine is Cinderella's evil stepmother. She is cold-hearted and enjoys abusing Cinderella psychologically, punishing her for being more beautiful and graceful than her own daughters. She also wishes to gain a higher status by one of her daughters marrying a noble. Day by day, she tortures Cinderella, treating her like a servant in her own home. She didn't need magical powers, she's just cruel to the core. Mother Gothel had a lot of different motives in this movie. She wanted to kidnap Rapunzel as a child and raise her as her daughter to remain young and beautiful forever, and to try to keep Rapunzel safe in the tower and prevent her from ever returning to the outside world, and to kill Flynn Rider for helping Rapunzel escape the tower. And she actually does all these things. Pretty much. Mother Gothel poses as a loving, overprotecting mother who just wants to protect her daughter from the cruelty of the world. She manipulates and lies to Rapunzel, claiming that Mother knows best. Then we have the evil queen. The evil queen wants to kill Snow White so that she can become the fairest of them all. The evil queen becomes insanely jealous over Snow White for surpassing her in beauty. The evil queen tries to have Snow White killed. When the huntsman fails her, she disguises herself as an old woman to tempt Snow White into eating the poison apple that will forever put her to sleep. Now, who did it better? This is the hardest one. Okay. Let's look at them side by side. Lady Tremaine is evil to Cinderella all day, every day to her face. And she bullies her so that she's a slave in her own home. Whereas Mother Gothel lies to Rapunzel. So Rapunzel actually sees Mother Gothel as a loving mother because she's living in blissful ignorance. Which is worse, though. I mean, if you think about it, Lady Tremaine basically wants to make Cinderella cry 24/7. She's a bully. But Rapunzel is never directly bullied by her mom or breaks down in tears because of her. But also Lady Tremaine never kills and actually inherited Cinderella completely legally, whereas Mother Gothel literally steals Rapunzel from her parents. See, it would be a hard decision, but then Mother Gothel literally goes and kills Eugene. So she beats Lady Tremaine. But then you realize that not only was Snow White a slave in her own home too, but her stepmother literally tries to have her killed just because she is prettier than her. Twice. She's the only stepmother who actually wants her princess dead. So the evil queen is the better evil stepmother. Or the worse normal stepmother? Anyway, she wins. Next, we have the overthrowers. This category is by far the biggest with the most villains. The villains in this category all plot to kill a person in power and then take over their position. A pretty common motive for villains who are power hungry, want more money, or are just really jealous. We have Jafar from Aladdin, Hades from Hercules, Scar from Lion King, Yzma from Emperor's New Groove, Ratigan from The Great Mouse Detective, and Hans from Frozen. So let's start with Hans. Hans' goal is to become King of Arendelle. Prince Hans is a twist villain who makes Anna think that he'll love her forever and never shut her out, unlike her sister who is literally a closed door. But really he's targeting Anna, and his plan is to marry her, kill Elsa, and then become crowned king. Prince Hans is the youngest of 13 sons, which means that it's not likely that he'll ever inherit the throne, so he becomes desperate to find power and recognition elsewhere. Now, Yzma's goal is to overthrow Cusco and become the empress of the empire. Yzma is an evil sorceress and starts out as an advisor to Cusco. But she gets fired by Cusco in the beginning of the movie and then becomes obsessed with killing him and stealing his throne. She tries to kill him multiple times. But she is also hilariously eccentric with her overcomplicated plans. Her main weapons are poison with the intent to kill. Now, Jafar wants to overthrow the Sultan and exact vengeance on Aladdin. Jafar begins as the Sultan's trusted advisor, but really he hates the Sultan and wants to overthrow him. Jafar searches for this magic lamp to help him overtake the throne and later the world. He is very power hungry and manipulates people with his hypnotizing staff. He repeatedly tries to dispose of Aladdin in gruesome ways, burying him in the cave, drowning him in the ocean, banishing him to freezing climates. Next we have Hades. Hades wants to overthrow Zeus and rule Mount Olympus. Hades is the god of the underworld, but he despises his job, constantly complaining about how gloomy it is. Even in Greek mythology, Hades didn't want this task, but Zeus gave it to him anyway. Hades has a fiery temper where we see his evil side come out, but for most of the movie, he's a very funny, sassy, and likable character. I think out of all of the villains, he's probably most people's favorite just because of his style. Then we have Ratigan. Ratigan wants to overthrow the queen and become supreme ruler of all of Mousedom. Professor Ratigan is a crime lord who has gone away with many schemes, and for some reason he's obsessed with his status as a mouse, but when he is labeled as a rat is when his violent side comes out. He's known as the world's greatest criminal mind, and he's a very charismatic villain driven by power and a desire to be rich. And then we have Scar. Scar wants a lot too. He wants to kill and murder his brother Mufasa so that he can become the king of the Pride Lands. And then he wants to take the Pride Lands and break the circle once and for all. He also wants to kill his nephew Simba in order to have the rightful truth of becoming the king of the Pride Lands. Scar was next in line for the throne before Simba was born, so Scar is just really jealous and creates this crazy plan to kill Mufasa, kill Simba, and then take over the kingdom. I mean, the murder of Mufasa is definitely one of the most famously villainous scenes in Disney movies. Now, who did it better? Gosh, there are a lot to compare here. Okay, first, I think Hans is at the bottom. Because even though he tricks Anna and breaks her heart, and I'll never forgive him, and he actually does attempt to assassinate Elsa, for those of you who think Frozen is a lighthearted movie, but mainly he's just a liar. I think Yzma would be next because she just wants revenge for Kuzco firing her. And I don't personally think that she would do that bad of a job as Empress. I don't think she would be like a big dictator. She wouldn't kill citizens. Maybe she's not as evil as she is vengeful. Next I would say Jafar, because all he wants is power, and we saw how evil he was with all the horrible things he was trying to do to Aladdin. He also hypnotizes and manipulates people, but he dreams too big. He wants the land, he wants the throne, he wants unlimited power. I feel like the best Disney villain wants one thing and does everything possible to try and get it. Next, I'm putting Hades. And before you all get mad, just hear me out. I know he's your favorite, but if you actually look into Greek mythology, Hades doesn't actually kill. He just deals with the souls that are already in the underworld. Sure, he orchestrates a lot of shady deals on the side, like Meg's whole situation. He has a lot going on for him, but we're looking at just what happened in the movie. All he's essentially doing is his job. He's not evil, he's just given the title a bad rep, hence why he's mad. Yes, he does try to have Hercules killed, but I think the villains I put above him are more evil and do a better job at overthrowing, which is what this category is about. Really, the less I say here, the safer I am. Now we have a villain that some of you guys might not be familiar with, but I promise you he is ruthless. Professor Ratigan wants power and money, so he tries to kill the queen, but he also kidnaps and enslaves, and he feeds disappointing henchmen to his cat. Can you imagine if you disappointed your boss and then he fed you to a cat? Nope. And at the top, I would put Scar, because he actually became ruler for some of the movie, and we got to see just how bad it was under his reign. He kills Mufasa himself, psychologically impairs Simba, and uses the hyenas to ensure that the entire Pride Lands community starves. He wants everyone below him and to be in pain. He makes sure to do everything possible so that he will be king, and he actually is the only overthrower who is able to assassinate the person in power successfully. So the best overthrower is literally the lion who threw the king over a cliff. Scar. This is our last category. Reasonable, but extra. So this is just a category I had to make up for all the villains whose primary goal didn't fit in with any of the others. But one thing that these villains all share is that one bad thing happened to them that is definitely worth getting upset over, but they completely overreacted. We have the Queen of Hearts from Alice in Wonderland, Gaston from The Beauty and the Beast, Bill Sikes from Oliver and Company, Captain Hook from Peter Pan, and Maleficent from Sleeping Beauty. Captain Hook wants to kill Peter Pan to get revenge. I think we can all believe that Captain Hook's frustrations are completely understandable. I mean, this flying boy chops off his hand and feeds it to a crocodile. And that crocodile is now constantly pursuing him in hopes for another bite. Wouldn't you want revenge too? Yeah, not only do you have one hand, but your inevitable death constantly follows you and makes a ticking sound when it approaches. I know some people live their life by the clock, but that is too much. Bill Sikes' goal in the movie is to have Fagin pay him back for the money that he borrowed. And then he turns it into using Jenny for ransom to become rich by holding her hostage. Bill Sikes is literally a mafia crime boss, and unlike other Disney movies, his role is not made more child-friendly. During one scene, he's literally on the phone discussing the torture and murder of someone. He operates out of a sketchy warehouse and gives loans out to people, and he sets his dogs on them if they don't pay him back. He's graphic, violent, and brutal with everything he does. Gaston's goal is to marry Belle by any means necessary, and then his goal becomes killing the beast. Gaston is just a dickhead. He's a normal, arrogant narcissist, but when he finds out that Belle is in love with the Beast, he turns into a murder-hungry villain. He has Belle's father thrown into an insane asylum to try and force Belle to marry him. He also tries to kill the Beast, still determined to make Belle his wife, simply because she's the most beautiful girl in town, and that means that she should be with him. No one tries to win your love like Gaston. The Queen of Hearts probably has other goals in her life, but in the movie, it's just to behead Alice. The Queen of Hearts is a tyrant in Wonderland who is obsessed with beheadings. Alice insults her and humiliates her, and having a short temper, the queen chases her, chanting, "Off with her head!" She is egotistical, has to hear, "Yes, your majesty," and "Always are my ways." She is insane and psychotic. The definition of extra. Then we have Maleficent. Maleficent wants to exact revenge on Stefan and Leah by cursing Princess Aurora and ensuring nothing breaks her curse. Maleficent is actually an evil fairy and responsible for all the evil that happens in the kingdom. Angry because she wasn't invited to the christening, she curses the child to die by pricking a finger on the spindle of a spinning wheel before she turns 16. She claims to be the mistress of all evil and even psychologically tortures Prince Philip. She's also very powerful, you guys know the dragon scene, and her evil magic counterparts that of the three good fairies. Now, who did it better? Obviously, a lot of the villains are extra, but to have more fun with this category, I think we should just compare the reasonable motive to the extra reaction that all these villains have. So let's talk about Captain Hook. He is the living image of a guy who wants revenge. Peter Pan left him with one hand, and now he's literally followed by a ticking crocodile reminding him of his inevitable death. That's completely reasonable. I would be mad too. So Captain Hook wants to kill Peter, though. And I mean, obviously, that is a bit much, but I think that a lot of the other villains experience much less of a setback and respond with a lot more hate. So he's at the bottom. Bill Sikes just wants his money back. I can relate to that, but he wants to send his dogs out to kill the dude and then kidnaps a little girl and ransoms her for money. That's a bit much. So he's there. Because I think Gaston is even more extra though, because all he wants is the prettiest girl, which is Belle, to marry him. But when she says no, he sends Belle's father to an insane asylum and says that he'll only let her dad go if she marries him. And then when Gaston finds out that Belle is in love with the Beast, he starts a riot to kill the Beast because he's the one that Belle actually loves. Again, dickhead. Next I would put the Queen of Extra, the Queen of Hearts. This random girl Alice shows up and insults the Queen in front of her court. And like any good leader, she just wants to be respected, but she seems to be a tyrant that goes to the extreme always. The Queen beheads anyone who doesn't respect her, which is an immediate and unreasonable reaction. At the same time though, still more reasonable than our top villain. Maleficent is the definition of pure evil. She just wanted to be included and invited to the princess's christening. So she shows up, makes a scene as always, and literally places a curse on the princess, sentencing her to die. She also kills and tortures. So of these reasonable and extra villains, I think Maleficent is the most extra yet. And that's it. These are the better villains of their roles. I really hope you liked this video. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe all down below. Let me know who your favorite Disney villain is, if you disagreed with anything I said, or if you agree with anything that I said. And make sure to check out all the other videos we have for you here on Nerd Culture. I'll see you next time.